Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. We are here with another just big, beautiful conversation. It hasn't even fully started yet, and I've been excited 4 weeks since we scheduled it. I'm here with Jonathan Greenfield. Welcome.
Oh, Megan, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
I hope y'all are ready because Jonathan and I, neither of us know how to swim in the shallows. Well, maybe we know how, but we don't.
Yeah.
So we're here to just open the door with some big talk pretty much right out of the gate. But before we do that, I want to share a little bit about who Jonathan is formally so that you all who are listening have a little context. And then I'm going to invite you to introduce the human that's showing up today in this moment because, they can be kind of different. So Jonathan Greenfield has been doing men's work for almost a decade, coaching men internationally as a coach with the Elevate program led by Brian Reeves and Tate Aaron, and serves as a men's coach and grief coach through The Hardest Way, which I love that name. He's also been an actor for over 25 years with over 200 episodes of TV and 25 plus films, professionally known as Jonathan Chase. Yo, we got a celebrity in the house.
If we go to some malls in America, someone may hand me their child to take a photo. Yes. Yeah. So that's the on paper.
Yeah.
I guess the not on paper part is I know you and love you because you saved my life at here we are. I'm just going to start all the way at the end of a conversation. Yeah, we're going to do it. My father died. This was 4 years ago, and my marriage imploded. My mother and my wife imploded upon each other, old stories, old wounds. And I thought that my wife was supposed to meet all my needs, even my needs of losing my greatest hero, my love, my epic North Star, my vulnerable template for how to be a man in the world, which is rare in men's work. I know most men in men's work in circles I've been in, with the hundreds of men I've been in circle with, they have either never known who their father was, even if the man was standing in front of them their whole lives, or they never met him because he abandoned them early in their lives. And so to have a true love is very rare. I know that now. And Megan, I attribute you to saving my marriage. I attribute myself to also doing the work to save my marriage. But you are a healer, a conduit for realizing in me that my wife did not have to meet all my needs and couldn't. And like David Kessler says, family and friends in grief show up like strangers, and strangers can show up like friends and family. So that is the beginning of our conversation. Wow. I'm just going.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I can always count on you to show up with your heart open. And for everyone listening, I'm going to say the same thing I always say to you when you offer that really generous reflection, that truly what I do, the magic, the guidance, whatever we want to call it, lands completely flat if someone's not open. And both you and your beautiful wife showed up open. And that is why your marriage blossomed. That's why. I mean, it's like the two of you aligning with the consciousness of your marriage that, it was beautiful to watch. And I will always be grateful that I had the honor of being in that realm.
Oh, gosh. Bless you. And it's not, finished.
Relationship never is.
It's a dance. It's an ongoing dance. Someone, we're stepping on each other's feet. We're turning in the wrong direction. I'm getting dipped sometimes. I'm a large man.
Yeah.
But yeah, the not on paper part of this conversation is I was practicing and training to be vulnerable my entire life. Yes, acting, and I'm successful and whatever like in your book, the world that we live in, Western culture, not valuing someone outside of these two qualities, which is productivity, you say, and you make a claim for bank account. And that is so like, that is so resonant. I can feel myself placing bank account into conversations when I feel low self-worth. And that is the culture. And we lived in Italy a couple of years ago for a few months. And so we see that's not everywhere in the world does not follow the guidebook of the Industrial Revolution as you describe so beautifully in your book. And so men's work is, for me, healing the world one man at a time.
Mhm. Yeah. I think it's a really beautiful gift to the healing of the collective when men, and I think especially white men, who are so steeped in that messaging of your value is the power you have over your life, the bank account, the titles, the status. I mean, that's where I have such compassion for the male experience is it's a narrow expectation of that heavy um external metric that doesn't give back. Right? Like if that's your only focus and you're excluding your relational well-being, your emotional connection, it's a hollow win and it's a hollow fight, you know? And I think men get it. We all get it. That's why it's in the book, but men get it in a special, heavy, confined way, in my observation. I would love for you to speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get into specifics because a lot of sacred container and men's circles, but I was in a team 2 years ago with men in their 70s.
Mhm.
And I love these men, and they know, because I've said it many times from my vulnerable place to their face, to not fix me in my pain, to not fix my sadness, to not solve when I'm weeping, because I know it's their discomfort. This old way that they work, which I eventually left the team, you actually helped me through that. Well, oh my God, that's like, I'm almost forgetting you helped me through all these big moments in my life. But I learned so much from these men. Um, One of the greatest lessons I learned from a man in that team is he would say he had been married twice. The first time for over 20 years and the second time for over 20 years. And he said the only difference between the woman he first was married to, who he referred to as a witch, and the woman he currently is married to, he refers to as a goddess. The only difference between those two women was him. And I think that if men can show up, that we will eliminate, I'm not saying all, I know some relationships just end. They have to end and they're meant to only be a finite time. And to leave in love is kind of like the work that Brian and Tate do is if you're going to leave, like, how do you send that person off?
That's what I've done twice. Ending relationship with love. That's a lot of my soul school and my medicine. Yeah.
How, like, say more about leaving in love. Like, right.
Well, I think you know, we all have different relationships with endings, right? With letting go, with quitting, with commitment, all of those things. And I'm a very committed person. Like I'm a Leo. My heart, I'm going to love hard. And so my work has been love is bigger than the mental commitment sometimes. Love should feel like freedom. Love should feel like liberation to be all that you are. And if at some point the framing of the commitment feels like the opposite of that, then to me it's my duty to honor love, which should feel like freedom. And don't get me wrong, I put in the work, I gripped, I tried, I efforted, I did all the stuff, right?
Right.
But there's a moment of like, and I felt it with both of my marriages. I felt it come through my body, and it felt like a mix of like a calm lake peace and an oh shit nausea in the same breath. And it's like this sinking feeling of, oh, that feels so true. And oh shit, my whole life is about to get turned upside down. And I felt that both times. And that's kind of one of the versions of truth in my body that I've learned. And I've seen that happen many times on my path. And when wounds are activated to lean into love, That's CrossFit for the soul in a
Oh my
big,
God.
big
That is,
way.
I would say, top tier conflict navigation. That is
Hmm.
the high, and I love what you phrased there with just this. There was a calm and a nausea, like this,
Oh, well,
and I think there's this element culturally where we have to be only one thing, comforting, chasing it, right? Evolutionary. Let's just be comfortable. Let's have wealth and things and unlimited access to Amazon or whatever. Like I want it now. I want it yesterday. I
yeah.
think there's a inability to be okay with not being okay, and I think that kind of duality, you holding both, speaks to this thing. There's no one truth.
No. And we're messy. The whole thing I mentioned before our call, I am in a mud wrestling match with my TED Talk. And it's all about control and certainty and embracing the human mess. And I'm like, it's not vulnerable enough yet. It's not clear enough yet. I'm not embodying it enough yet because I still see the bits I'm holding on to where I want to frame things more nicely, where I want to skip to the lesson, where I want to, rather than just sitting in the mucky, alchemical,
Stinking mud.
purposeful richness of the swamp. And we're not taught to do that. So you have to build nervous system capacity over and over again to be like, right, I'm in the cocoon. I don't have pretty wings yet. I'm just sitting here in nothingness until something happens.
And yet you know you can fly, but you've been walking your whole life. Is that what you're speaking to?
I mean, sometimes I don't even know I can fly. Sometimes I'm just in the process, and that's my work is going, I'm just here now. There's something trying to happen through me. I can't name it. I can't predict it. I can't control it. But I'm stewarding this like something that's I know it's happening when it feels like nothing's happening. I've done enough life to realize that. And I think that happens a lot in relationship. It happens certainly for me in creative process. Um,
That's one of the greatest lessons I can distill from your book, which actually we're doing in my men's team right now. We're doing your
which I so love.
I,
Book club
I
in a
just think,
box, y'all.
of course, it's incredible. First off, you never stop figuring out ways to like serve or make things really interesting and fun. And you are like, you take things and make them with a capital. I say you make magic with a capital M, P with a capital, purpose with a capital P. You are my heart-based wordist. I just love that about you. But one of the my favorite things is knowing from my type, being a master builder, is that sometimes sitting and doing nothing is the work.
Yeah.
As opposed to just jumping and people pleasing and saying yes to too much. And what I do is I shut the door for the right yes to come in by not saying no, not honoring what is for me while taking what's not for me. And then the universe doesn't know the difference. So it's going to fill me with things that I didn't want because I'm people pleasing. And so just sitting in this period when, yes, I'm auditioning for really great projects. And yes, I'm coaching and we're going to Costa Rica in September and Norway the next year with Brian and Tate with Elevate program and helping men and serving men. And yes, and there's a lot of downtime.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of discomfort. And there's a lot of like, if only I could prove to other men around me that I am enough, that I am doing,
Yeah.
and show them a check, some validation of that doing, then I could feel like I belong here in the culture that honors, and nothing's wrong with it, but emoting only at a sporting event under the imbibement of alcohol. It's kind of my belief. I see it all the time. It's great. And also, we can do that elsewhere. We could do that during a sporting event. We could do watching a game. I love you. Oh, our team won. I love you, brother. Yeah, man. Like crying, like, wow. I can't name one team because I don't watch a lot of sports these days. I play them. But I really crave to see men's hearts, and I really crave to show mine to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my purpose with a capital P right now.
Yeah. And I think you're a really beautiful example of embodied purpose because a lot of times we think of purpose as something you do. And what we talked about in the book, it's who you be. And I think that's a purpose that's catching, right? Because it registers on the unconscious level. And I I hear you want this vision for the world, and you're doing it, right? There is a doing to it, but you're being it in every interaction you have to the best of your ability. And that, I believe, is far more contagious in the best way than somebody saying, you know what should happen. You know what you need to do.
Oof, oof. I want to fight that person right now.
Right? And
I
a
want to
lot of
enter
stuff comes in
battle.
like that. A lot of well-intentioned ideas come in with that harshness and that judgment. And I really appreciate, with a lot of masculine energy like you named, it can go sideways the way you're committed to. There's a soft strength in the kind of purpose that I observe you moving with. And I'm
Yes,
sure it's all different kinds of strength, but to
I
choose
appreciate
soft
that.
strength is huge.
I receive that. I appreciate that. Years ago, I would diminish it. I would deny it. I'd try to explain it away. But I appreciate that. I receive that. Thank you. And that's why I resonate. I mean, I was in men's work. I was on a team 8 years ago with Brian Reeves, and he became this big coach. And he asked me to join him, and that's why I resonate with his work. There's a lot of great men's coach and women's coaches out there, and there's a lot of people that are doing it not so skillfully, as he would say. And that's okay. It's good distillation to know what's for me and what's not for me. He's so soft and he's so gentle, and I love that about him. And he knows when to turn me on to the men. Listen, I've done 20 years improv comedy. Most of my work is in sitcom, and I do monkey chanting. We do some really ancient rituals and ceremonies. I do grief work. We do a lot of work with death, men confronting their own ending. And all these kind of embodied somatic ways of being is kind of where I get donned. And yes, I spent the first 26 years of my life acting, training in vulnerability, but it wasn't until I did men's work that I actually learned how to tap into my emotions. And it wasn't until my father's death that I knew that feeling was one of the most powerful ways that a person can love self and others and community.
Say more about that. I want to like click on that and make it bigger. Feeling is
Okay.
one of the biggest gifts.
So as I start to think about that, I've already lost it. I'm
Mhm.
thinking about how to feel, but if I feel, let me just show you. So I could explain it to you, but I could just show you. You get a sense that we've been talking, and I'm trying to distill some sort of wisdom that I may not know I have, that you're trying to pull out of me, maybe in some sort of organic, or maybe some sort of, who knows, right? There's a purpose to this conversation we're having. And yet, if I just tell you that I miss my father so much, and I love him, and every day the world feels less sweet, and I feel lost without him. And I chase him in my dreams. I chase him in my rituals. And that feeling inside me, that relationship with his death, has allowed me to examine my own death and even my son's death. My son is 5. And if I imagine my son's death, which I know people will have some feelings and thoughts around that, I am present with him. I am right there. I'm not thinking about the phone that's pinging at my attention, that's nearby, or the tech, the to-do list. I'm all in. My wife, I think about her dying one day, I'm here. I don't want to miss these moments. And that powerful presence from exploring my father's ending in my own, the gift curse of it all is what I'm here to be. What I call, I'm here to serve the sacred play, which includes play of the heart, the whole wheel of feelings. And so you may have connected to me more in the last few moments than the entire conversation we've had now. It's because maybe there's some humanity in me you see in yourself. And that's kind of that's what I'm stirring at.
Yeah. One, what I can say on the, I mean, I'm sure listeners are having their own experience, but what I can say here is the gift isn't about a gift you name. It is that gift you feel when someone's heart isn't protected, when somebody's heart is softened. It could be any emotion, right? It could be joy, like
Yeah.
pure, undiluted, nerdy, sparkly joy, or it could
Yeah.
be
Hell
this,
yeah.
right? Or it could be just this tender, raw grief. But a lot of what I find myself talking about and telling myself many times is like, because I have a whole toolbox to do this really well in a way that doesn't serve me, is
Oh,
talking about the thing doesn't mean you're embodying the thing or feeling the thing or experiencing the thing. And we are a culture that loves a label. Oh, we love a label because that's a form of control, so we don't have to be vulnerable and experience it. And therapists are some of the worst best at that, I will say, because we have a lot of tools to do that. And so, one of the many reasons that my path took me away from that traditional model is it just didn't feel right, even though parts of me love to avoid the vulnerability, right? There's parts of me that like it to stay nice and tidy. But the truth is, I've had enough heart open moments on the giving and receiving of the heart space that that's how I want to live. That's what I choose, even if part of me is really familiar with being sparkly and shiny and contained and conceptualized, whatever. So thank you for modeling that and for giving that gift to everybody who's going to interact with this podcast.
ooh. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate you sharing that. And I know I didn't realize that therapists kind of they have more tools to hide behind. I guess I never asked. Thank you for sharing that. What I wish for anyone listening is that know that any hardened, armored up warrior of a man's heart can be opened, can be unlocked.
Mm.
And there is no one who is immune. Even the people I judge in what I see in news, if I have judgments over someone, I know, even I point to the top of the top. I know that all those people need too is for someone to see them, hold space, and whatever safety looks like for them, create that and allow them to feel what they're feeling, and eventually, and to find out what they need, what they didn't get.
Mm.
I see men acting out, and I see men acting out in anger with their kids. I've seen it at my son's school,
Yeah.
and my first thought is not, oh, I could kill that man. Shaking a little part of me wants to kill that man,
Yeah.
and another part of me knows that man needs love.
Yeah.
And I so have compassion for him, and I wish I could, and he's not my responsibility. And also, like, to blast him with the hope that one day he has a moment where he weeps or meets his own death
Mhm.
and he cracks open, and hopefully it doesn't suture that back up and put a sticker of productivity on it and move on.
Yeah.
That's that's what we're really working at. And to kind of circle back to this whole like idea of like being okay with not being okay has been a big theme the last year. Because there's so much. If I look in every direction, and I'm not going to talk about things I don't know about, I'm just going to stay in my lane here. And everyone knows what I'm hinting to.
Yeah.
If I find a screen of some kind, I'm getting blasted with information. But it makes me I feel overwhelmed. I don't feel like I can help in the world. And I feel very much not okay. Like I am placing some element of fight or flight survival on something that I have no control over, as opposed to there's a bear coming to attack me, or the deep winter where I live right now is, if I live outside for 2 days, I'm dead. I will die if I go outside right now. For 2 days, I most likely will be dead. And there's something about this cycle of information we're in that creates this like false sense of like this, it's like always there. The pot is always ready to boil over.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a separateness, I feel, culturally. But this whole, if I can be okay with not being okay, then maybe I can take your opinions and viewpoints on the world and I can just allow them. I can allow your experience. And granted, that's easy enough because you're my couples coach, my marriage coach, my business coach, my life coach, my friend. Uh, I'm a fanboy of yours. There's all that's right intermixed. And yet that becomes really complex when it's my wife and she's got an upset. And that's level 2 of it. She's got an upset and it's in front of me. Okay.
Yeah.
Level 3, she's got an upset. It's at me and it's about me. And how do I hold that? For the first time in my life, I am 46 years old. For the first time in my life, this past before Thanksgiving, we were in a car and I watched her have an upset at me about me. My ego wants to really she's saying it's about me. It's 100%. Let's defend it.
Mhm.
Let's kill that part of her and make myself right. I realized as soon as she started talking that she didn't need me to do anything about that. She just needed me to listen. And I was like, this has nothing to do with me. The best thing I can do is allow it. And I
Yeah.
sat there. We were driving. 35 minutes later, tears in her eyes, and I'm calm. I'm present. My hand is out, reaching out for her. And she just said, thanks for listening.
That's it.
I don't know if I'll ever do it again, Megan.
You will. You
One
will.
time. One time.
That's such a perfect example of at least my understanding. And I think it's kind of funny that I'm talking about my understanding of the masculine because I'm out here, but that's my own perspective of that container of presence, of heart, like strong-hearted anchoring presence to me is divine masculine energy. It's the container that holds that feminine swirl that just needs to move. It just needs to get out and feel safe being out in the world rather than contained. For me, I'll speak to me in my little body. Like sometimes the feels are just too big to manage. And to have a container, whatever that is, it doesn't have to be a male bodied container, but a container that feels safe and loving, even if it's not doing anything, is such medicine. And I think men need that just as much as women, right? We all have both of those energies. It's not a gender thing, but
If I'm looking around at the world in which I live in, and I'm going to speak from the I space here, I'm not going to place this on anyone else. I think men need this the most.
yeah.
There needs to be some sort of reclamation of the damage done in the history of all the world for the gender I'm born into and identify with, what we have done culturally to women.
I appreciate that.
And I'm by no means an expert on that, but I'm very aware that I walk down the street, I'm 6'4", 225, and we're in the inner city of Philly, and I see a man who's on the mental non-well-being spectrum,
Yeah.
gets off a bicycle and wants to start an altercation with me. I know, hey, I hear you. I love you. Have a blessed day. He doesn't back down. I do it again. I reinforce that. He comes closer. I let him know, have a blessed day.
Yeah.
I'm a large person. He probably would kill me, but part of me believes I could protect the kids inside that school. And if I was a woman, I'm not sure that same. What would that be like for you?
Oh my gosh, I will tell you right now. I've had conversations with my ex-husband about that because when I don't think had really, really thought about the general safety that women don't feel moving through life. And I think part of why some women stay in relationships that don't feel healthy is that safety because as I was preparing to be single again, I had all those thoughts of how am I going to keep myself safe? And I don't think the world is horrible, dangerous. I don't walk around thinking like that, but I think there's a lot of people in pain, and people in pain do things that their hearts wouldn't choose. And, like having my keys out in between my fingers in a parking garage, like things that I don't even think about unless I think about it because I've done it my whole life when I'm alone as a woman. And that low to mid grade lack of safety, I think, is what people in black and brown bodies have felt for a long time in our culture in different
Something I
ways.
will never be able to relate to. And most of
Right.
my career has been in black television. And I have no clue what it's like to be a black man in America.
Yeah.
One of my best friends, my brother, we were driving from Atlanta to Indianapolis, and we got pulled over somewhere south of Indiana. And you better believe that cop was a white man who pulled us over. My friend was driving. He came over to the car. He said, "Now, do you know what?" And he took a look inside. And he saw me, and he said, "Have a good day, guys," and let us
That's
go.
the
I
world.
turned to my friend. I said, "Has that happened to you before?" And he's like, "All the time." And he was like, "No big deal." I was like, "All the time." And I'm sitting there going, I could feel my vein right here, my teeth in my jaw are clenching currently as I speak to it. I feel tightness in my chest. I feel really angry.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's another thing. I've had black men in men's teams, and I had this false expectation that a black man should feel safe in a men's team with mainly white men.
Yeah.
That's the ignorance in which I came up through this work, is that safety means something for everyone. And I can't serve everybody, but I'm going to serve every man that resonates with wanting to feel closer to self, which I believe will heal closeness to other. If I can be okay with not being okay in this meat sack, then I can start practicing that with my child, my animals, and hopefully my wife, my partner, or my husband if I was, not heterosexual, any on the spectrum, any partner you have. If I can allow that experience, then it's not a Rolodex of running from relationships because I'm running from myself.
Yeah.
Which I
Well, I
see.
think that example that you mentioned about being in the car with Sarah is an example that, in essence, applies to a lot of other scenarios where, like, to build this new world, right? I'm a visionary. I see the new world that wants to be formed that is so different from where we are now. And you know, and part of my job as a projector is to hold that as like
Yeah.
we're going there. But the way we have been taught to be with differences or reflections that we have done something harmful or wrong, however it's presented, and instead of doing the thing that we're taught, our egos love to do, which is to defend and fix or figure out or say no, it wasn't, to just be there and be curious and want to understand, right? Not have somebody educate us on all the stuff we should know, but just be like, I didn't know and I do now. You helped me know through that. Thank you.
Hmm. That's
Just the other day, my mom said something to me that she had worked up. She told me later, I'd worked up so much to tell you this. And it was just something she just wanted me to ask more about what's going on in her life. She just wanted me to ask more. And she said, I felt so bad because I know, as a lot of the repair we've done is she wasn't able to be present for me for a lot of my life because she was caught up in her own stuff. So she said, I didn't want to ask. But when she said, I just would like on our phone conversations, it would feel good if you would ask more about me.
Hmm.
And I could tell she wanted me to ask more than like, how are you? Like, really ask. And I said, absolutely. And that was the end of the conversation. And later she said, Megan, I was so geared up for you to defend and be upset and say all this stuff. And you you just said absolutely. And then you did it the next time we talked. And I was like, yeah, because you helped me know what you needed.
That's such a hard skill. Praise to your mom for knowing what she needed. That's a very hard skill, even for myself. And that's all the things we're covering. Like, I am no expert. I am struggling with these things as well. And actually, if you want to really get to know Megan's mom, it's all in here.
There's a little bit of conditioning that I inherited.
Wasn't she a bodybuilder?
Let me tell you, to be the awkward, overweight, highly sensitive kid that I was, and have a mom who was a bodybuilder and the coolest school counselor who literally was known for wearing 6-inch
Well, she
heels,
like do meditation class. She like taught meditation.
peer mediation. And then she had a diversity training business when it was called diversity training, and was a school counselor. So like she did lots of things and like was so fabulous,
Yeah, I come from another strong mother too. My mother was second in the state of Florida women's arm wrestling 1986.
No way. Arm wrestling?
Oh my friends would like they'd love to know that fact. They said, "But if I was in trouble as a kid, would I get, punished and spanked like this?" It wasn't always an arm wrestling over the top kind of discipline.
Yep. Literal strong moms. Yeah.
We have strong, amazing mothers.
And what I have learned is my family line defined strength in a pretty armored way, in a pretty achievement external way. There wasn't a value of emotional strength. There wasn't that just wasn't a family value. So I've been sort of the alien in my family that has really, for whatever reason, been put here in this skin bag to learn about soft strength and valuing sensitivity. And it's been a really interesting thing to watch the family dynamics and landscape shift and change as I've evolved. My mom's 75 and she's coming into a softer version of herself than I ever expected to see. And I'm not saying that's me, but I'm also not saying it's not, because family affects family.
Family affects family. I love that. I love that 100%. And gosh, to be able to see your mother at 75 be a different version of herself.
And it only started happening, and this is what I've seen also in my marriages. It only happened when I got out of the way. When I stopped having an agenda, because that energy is felt. I want you to be different. I want you to be more this, less this. Whenever that energy is at play in a relationship, shit can evolve. It's like gridlock. And it's so hard to like hold an intention in this very heart forward, open palmed way, rather than I need you to be, because that comes from our wounds.
That is such a huge lesson for the world, to get out of our own way. That is what I see in men, and men are not really showing up for grief. Most of my grief work has been with women. I built my website around a male client who reached out, who wanted to work on his grief. But for the most part, it was women in circle for 2 years, holding space for them. And to get out of our own way, what would that allow for our partners to show up in the world, for our children to feel safe in our presence? I feel men struggle, this is what I've seen, with allowing others to see them.
Oh, yeah.
We've been taught that weakness is weakness, or vulnerability is weakness, or sad is weakness, or any half of the wheel of feelings that isn't bright siding or joy or positivity as a negative. And I honestly, I'm going to quote Brian Reeves, everything in the forest is the forest. And I totally believe that.
Yeah.
Every crack on that beautiful kintsugi pot makes that thing more beautiful. Every little gold line that was filled in, every little scar that we have. If I had no scars, no stories to tell, I might be a very boring, safe person who never fully lived my life. But because I'm broken, because I've been hurt, because I've hurt others, and I've hurt others. I am a flawed human. I definitely ran through my 20s hurting women behind the guise of like, hey, we talked about this. This wasn't going to be more than what it was. I hid behind that. It's just going to be a physical relationship while I focus on my acting career. So I'm in the clear of causing any harm. No. Caused harm. Me. Thinking that emotion and physicality are separate. And these are the things, like, if willingness to be seen, all of it, the ugly, the mediocre, the beautiful, the imaginal, the things we don't even know yet, the great mystery of our life. I think If men would be willing to know that they can't do it alone, we would have a lot more peace in this world. There was a statistic I read about recently. It was 1 in 7 men do not have a male friend that they can call upon, that they trust to reach out to. 1 in 7 men?
Yeah. I'm called to ask you to just imagine with me for a moment, because part of what we're doing in these conversations is we're casting a spell of sorts, right? Of intention into the world. Paint me a picture of a world where men are free to feel full spectrum and are held in heart-centered community with other men. What then becomes possible?
If that, if that, then what? Then a man might not take his anger and resentment and direct it at a child or at a partner. He might take it adjacent to a group of other men with some practices that we have, that we do in our retreats. And those men might be able to release those things that burden them, that carry them, that weight, that literally feel like a weight, like literally feel like heavy metal, medieval armor that prevents movement. And then they couldn't put it all on their partners or their children to be everything for them, like I did when my father died. And know that I can show up instead of pouring from an empty cup. I can pour from a full cup, and I can allow my wife's experience to be hers. I can allow her sadness, her pain, her discomfort, her failures, whatever she describes it as, and just be there. Like in a world, like very simply, without getting too complex, my wife has feelings. She has stories. She shares them. The only thing I need to do is nothing. That's it. You want like the shortcut? Do nothing. Be present. Listen without thinking of what to say. If I'm not repeating what she's saying in real time, reflective listening and like seeing the words come at me and then come back out and go back to her, and I'm just with you. I see your shoulders went up, Megan. I see a breath permeated your body. There's some kind of like full body nod happening, not just your head. And there's an element that allowing her full experience is all that matters. Get out of our own way, you say. This is getting out of the way. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
First off, women are wild. The wild ancient technology of women have created this world. Just allow the wildness and know that I don't need to figure them out. I will never figure my wife out. That's okay with me.
Isn't that kind of exciting?
It's so exciting.
Like, I mean, that's part of why I like human design and applied neuroscience. Is like, there's no end. I'm never going to know it all. How amazing.
And I love that. I mean, one of my biggest intentions with doing your book, because I know you, I know your work, you're amazing, you're a healer, you're a lighthouse, a beacon, but I really like the idea that I can learn about other people and how I can interact with them.
Yeah.
And how we all kind of take on these roles, all of them. We all kind of go through all 5 of the roles, and what is it that I need? I know now 100% that I have to wait for the sacral response. Satisfaction is my yes in life. Do I feel satiated, satisfied?
And does your gut, your body, right? That's part of why, especially for generator types, the generator types learn very early. Use your words. Does that make sense? Rather than being like, my gut's like, right? It's primal. It's getting back to I keep talking a lot lately about our creative intelligence, like the intelligence that just is in our cells, waiting to be witnessed. That's part of my new brand that's coming, this imaginal change. It's like, what does it take to get out of the way, whether it's in relationship dynamics or in our own choices in life, to allow, to get our egos in the backseat enough to allow an intelligence far greater than our conditioned minds to lead us, at least sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not saying like eliminate the need to produce.
Yeah.
We have to pay bills. There's a
Totally.
reality in which we live in. This matrix requires certain activity. And I'm just saying, just not all the time.
That's it. That's it.
I just 13 inches south. that's not a medical measurement. I have no idea, but just right around this
Heart-ish.
his throat to navel. In there, this resonant, there's a, I have never felt more alive when
Mm.
I'm feeling
Yeah.
alive, not when I'm thinking alive.
Yeah.
And if men need help, reach out. You're not alone. I mean, I struggle. I've shared some of those struggles here. I know men are really struggling. Men are thriving on paper
Mhm.
and alone at night.
Well, thriving on paper is one of the biggest velvet ditches that I see in my work. Like being able to say I'm successful often keeps people in this soft, either mediocrity or softened discomfort, right? It's hard to want to climb out if that's what's affirmed. But I think I sense there's an awakening of truth in people right now where we can't outrun the pain that is being masked by a lot of things, from performance to avoidance to whatever. We've got an abundance of things we can shop for that. But I'm curious because I'm not in a male body. I haven't lived the male experience. I've been curious and observant for a long time. But what do you think it's going to take within a man, within men, based on your wisdom, your lived experience, your work, to say yes to coming into vulnerable community ship? Because that's a big ask with our cultural narratives in
It
place.
is. They usually right away. I'm heartbroken to even say it, but it's going to take a man to be brought to his knees in life.
Yeah.
Usually it's the C word. Most commonly in relationship work, it's the D word, divorce. And I don't wish that.
Yeah.
And in family life, it's death. And that's so we try to have men take a look at their own ending so they can be in their own middle right here in the present. I find that to be so prophetic what Brian and Tate have created. And listen, I do it on my own as well. And I think it's going to take men to realize that just walleting the life, gaining and getting and having, which I'm sure the rest of the world is looking at us like, yes, keep buying our stuff, keep fattening up the chicken, right? America, keep eating the chicken. Let's keep fattening up so we can harvest you later. Like, they don't live this way. They have wine, in the middle of the day in Italy in a small piazza. They take off in the afternoon. They're closed most of the day. They don't need as much. They don't have as much. The missing element is a man has to be brought to his knees, unfortunately. But if a man can imagine that, then he won't have to go through the pain.
Yeah.
And to know that community is probably the most important thing to save.
Absolutely.
Any sort of soul searching, as the grass isn't greener, it's just a different shade.
Yeah.
Those are my mother's words, and I love that quote.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think we both just are deep believers in the power of community, because if we're just these little satellites pretending and proving at each other, we stay in our pain and the I think, trauma is having overwhelming experiences and feeling deeply alone and unsupported. It's not as much about the experience, it's about the experience after the experience, or, while. And so selling community to anyone right now can have some challenges because we're taught to be so, achievement oriented. But when we are in community and when we dare to, I mean, it's a brave thing when we're honest, it is the most exponential healing and de-shaming that I've ever seen. That's part of why I love doing group process and I go deep in it, because that there's no thinking. You don't have to fix a thing. You just have to show up, and healing and truth comes in for one and it just ripples to all. I'm curious, is that similar to the experience you have?
Anytime I say, it's a full body. Yes. It's that thing you described, that full body resonant sacral. It's yes. I want to scream.
Yes.
I want to rip a building in half and then rip a man's heart out of his chest. This is what I say all the time, and it's intense, but like cry and laugh at it and have him do it to mine and hug and love each other. And I just, in a circle of men or women, in a circle of people, I've done it in family dynamic too, but I'll just speak to the men's work for now, is in a circle of men, when a man is vulnerable, when a man allows himself to be seen, I tell you right now, I've never seen other men in the circle feel far away or alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
The man is feeling, and he's feeling something, and it could be like he's just lit up, but it's not a performance lit up. It's not like I'm doing all these things. He's just feeling like alive for the first time, whether that's through his releasing of sadness or old wounds, right? Whatever they describe or claim as trauma, even if it may look like a traumatic event, if they describe it as that, then everyone in the room feels connected.
Yeah.
It has to be felt.
Yep.
It's great that we're doing this podcast. It's great that you're doing this. And these are things that like have to be felt. They have to be like you said, the muck and the mire. We have to get dirty. We have to get messy. We have to go beneath the surface, and just explore some sort of initiations into the world.
And I think a lot of times it takes life surrendering us for us to remember how to feel. Because, I think conditioning, in my observation, conditioning starts so early, and kids are so brilliant at learning to adapt, to be loved and included, and to belong, that it becomes a very unconscious tendency to not feel. And that's part of why I love somatic work, is you can't listen to sensations of the body without then kind of accidentally, not accidentally realizing what you're feeling. But to say what, I want to invite you to feel it. For a lot of people, it's like a blank. It's a blank. There's a part, like in parts work, that comes up and is like, nope, we don't do that. So I just, that's
100%.
part of why the embodiment that you offer, there's a model, right? There's tools, but there's also a modeling of presencing with yourself, with others.
I want to put that on a t-shirt. Presencing yourself with others. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't have put that better. Presencing yourself with others. Because if we do it alone, it's over. There's no point. It's not human aloneness. It's humankind, which like hints at some sort of belonging. And where do we belong? And it's not with some sort of like enigma. Keep searching forever. It's just with each other.
Yeah.
How do we get there? It's by being open, being vulnerable. And obviously, yes, not every circle is for you. Not every person is for you. And boundaries are important. And also not taking on other people's feelings.
And discernment, right? Following your gut, following your guidance of this feels safe or right, or it's the moment rather than what I should do,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's something that's really clear in the book as you go through the grind and you go through Prosper, is that there's this element of knowing how to check in with the body. I really love how you presence that, is to check in with your body in certain ways, knowing. I know there's one type that describes that you have to just announce to someone else that you're doing the thing.
Yeah, that's the manifestor type, the innovating catalyst, informing.
I'm telling you I'm doing it, and then I'm going to do it. So I don't get met with anger or resentment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that, because I've been getting feedback from all the men I've shared it with, and they are literally lighting up. They're like, this is what I felt, a ripple effect. When I feel a ripple effect in my body, a man just shared this with me today. And when I presented him with two things in life, because he's struggling with finances, and I said, great. So here's the thing you could go back to that will give you $300,000, like more than you'll ever need. He only wants a very little portion. Mm. And I was like, and you got a 10-year contract, and you got to go to the city that you love. Great. And I watch his body, right? And I watch his body. And then here's the thing that you get to do. You get to work with the people you want to work with, and it's only $50,000. but you get fulfillment. And I see him breathe and he's smiling. And it's so interesting because if we're really feeling into what's for us and what's not for us, we're not going to play this game where I'm causing myself pain. I'm missing my whole life for the promise of, as you speak about, retirement, this thing that doesn't exist. It didn't exist in Italy when I was there. They don't think about that. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't even understand what I was saying. Like, don't you have savings for retirement? Like, why would you retire? Why would you stop living
When life is so good.
when life is so good? Because most people get to the end of their American life and realize their bodies have taken on so much pain to get there that their bodies don't actually show up for them when they need it now in order to enjoy that part of their lives. And they end up slowly dying.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah. Well, and I want to just name one thing that circles back to the other part of your medicine, other than the men's work, the grief. I don't think we get to grow without grieving. I have, even as I'm working on this TED Talk, I'm grieving another layer of the identity that feels like a security blanket of being sparkly, of having some sort of answer for someone, or frame some sort of concept, right? That this part of me that likes to be shiny. I like it. And my ego does. And I'm realizing that part can't go with me into my next chapter. Who I'm becoming doesn't carry that anymore. And it's not a grief like my dog passed away recently, and it was this very cathartic, pure, like very clear loss. This is I see it for what it is, and I don't choose to carry it because all of a sudden now I realize it's heavy, and I have to be in the grief of not knowing who I am long enough to become who I'm meant to be. That is some next level grief. It's so nuanced and weird. What are your thoughts, Jonathan?
Well, it would be ambiguous. A lot of people might dismiss that. They might call that disenfranchised grief or ambiguous loss, essentially the loss of a previous version of self.
Existential grief, maybe?
Existential grief, as soon as you get to a certain point when you think you're comfortable in whatever you're doing, life lifes you and knows that it's time for you to move on to the next thing in order for you to learn the lessons so that you can meet your own death in the end, knowing that you left it all on the dance floor, right? This whole dance. And so there's essentially you're in this process.
Again. Yeah.
Always. I think that's the point.
It is the point. And I think the way I'm framing my work is like, we're not meant to judge it. It's not wrong. And if we can culturally start not only accepting, but maybe even one day honoring the booger that is in between the caterpillar and the butterfly, right? If we can feel devotional to that, like that's the moment. That's the everything and nothingness, rather than trying to avoid it at all costs and build nervous system capacity to be with that. I can't imagine how us humans could evolve. I can't even wrap my brain around the magic we can create with each other and the quantum field with that new belief in place. I mean, it just blows my mind. So, that's why I'm wrestling with it within myself right now, because be the thing you want to see in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you're describing the in-between state, the liminal state, right? The imaginal state that there's the cells that get activated, knowing that they need to evolve beyond where they are without even ever knowing what the thing they're evolving to.
Yeah.
The work you're doing, there's an element that being okay with not being okay, allowing discomfort, getting comfortable with discomfort is, I just, on a simple level, that's it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I so want to look wise or knowledgeable.
Right?
In this moment and prove something on your podcast that people need to come to me for some sort of anything. Don't. If I say something that lights you up and you want to know more, reach out. I'm all in. But by all means, don't contact me. If none of this makes sense or it doesn't feel right in the body, that's great. That's discernment, like you said. And that's what I want. It's okay. It's okay to know what's for me and what's not for me. I don't need to have everything.
Yeah.
Although the promise of America is to have everything.
Which is working out really well right now.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the current version I'm living in, right? That we're living in, and I'm sure 100 years ago there was another version,
Right.
and
Yeah.
feeling very similar, and I
Yeah.
have compassion for that generation too. I just,
Yeah.
yeah, that chrysalis state. If that's where the magic happens.
That's where the magic happens. I mean, and I keep leaning to nature. You mentioned nature in the answers to your questions in preparation for this, and I think we as humans forget that we're nature. We like to that whole kind of colonial view on it that we're above it or beyond it or something like that. But we are it. And just like the grit forms the pearl, just like the mush turns the butterfly, like there's so many examples of how
Nature. You said it. You said what is human design? What is it? You said it's your universal. It's your blueprint.
I mean, my new offering that I'm developing, it's going to be called Your Imaginal Blueprint. And it's going to be a resource to be like, who was I before the world told me who I needed to be? And what
My
happens if I
ego
died?
would love to be like, let me tell you, world, who I need to be. My ego would love to be like, let me create this thing to prove that I'm this thing. But we're all part of the universe. We're all made up of the stuff of stars. And if you were to sit outside, away from technology, away from light pollution for a moment a year, and just look up and allow wonder,
That's
and
it.
remember that we are. And I know some people don't have electricity and don't have heat and don't have power and don't have and are just surviving and trying to live and serve, like literally, like life save themselves and may not have that capacity right now. But for those who do have the luxury,
Yeah.
be in nature.
Yeah.
Go get phytoncides. Go get the chemicals that literally heal you, that trees use to talk to each other with. Like just go do Shinrin Yoku. Go out there and do forest bathing.
Yeah.
Just be with it. Breathe your biome, as Zach Bush would say.
Yeah. It gets us back into a more natural state. And I say that as a like woman with bougie tendencies, you know? I'm not gonna want to live in the deep woods for a week. And cultivating a relationship with nature is inherently grounding and anchoring and um, guiding for me. So I appreciate you bringing that. And I see we're at time pretty much,
Great.
and I want to honor your time, but I want to close with two things. I want people to know how they can remain connected. I'll also put it in the show notes, but I think a lot of times people like to hear it. And then I want to invite you to end with your imaginal wish that you want to speak into the space. It could be anything. So, how can people find you,
Well,
learn from you, be
you can
inspired by
find
you?
me. You can reach out if you want to do some men's work or grief work with me, or you want some space holding, reach out on thehardestway.com. If you want to do some men's work with me and Brian and Tate, you can look up Elevate, brianreeves.com. You can go to school and see Elevate Men community on school. I created an acting community on school called The Working Actor. If you have any artistic needs, and you can see me on Instagram, actor Jonathan Chase. And I would just say, my imaginal wish for the world is just more compassion, especially for the people I don't agree with or the people I have judgments to, just to blast compassion upon the other, because they're going to teach me something I didn't know.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for being here. Thank you
Oh,
for
thank you.
sharing your heart. Thank you for being so genuine and full of integrity in the way that you show up as a man in this world. I really appreciate it, and I am grateful to share you with my community.
Oh, you honor me and you honor my father. Thank you.